Hello everybody, this is Morpholine, and I'm going to do what everybody and their brother has done, is show a video of restoring the houses in Sanctuary. Well, now I'm going to do something I haven't seen anyone else do, and I hope you enjoy. For this, I am going to be doing this house right here. It has a complicated roof shape, as you can tell. I was going to initially do this one, but it's pretty much just a rectangle. This one's a little more interesting, so I think you'll get more out of the video. As you can see, lots of interesting shapes to play with. Now, most people have been using the shack roofs and whatnot, or even concrete to fix the roofs in these buildings. I, however, am going to play with the barn tab for the most part. Alright, so barns, and grab our wall. This is where we start everything out. I use this particular chunk of foundation to measurement. I've done enough playing around here to know what measurements I need to fit most of the houses in Sanctuary. And the first thing we're going to do is that front gable over the doorway. So we need the gable pieces. And then we will go for our roof sections. I like the whole roofs because if you're restoring a roof, why would you build one with more holes in it? They've got enough already. And then on this back side, we have to put the mirror part of the gable. I'm not even sure gable's the right term. It might just be peak. I don't know. I know the gable is those little sections that stick out. That's definitely gables there. Now we're going to run into a little bit of weirdness here on the inside corners. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's get this corner built. So, roofs. And now I want the cap pieces. See, they have an outside corner for these. They don't have an inside corner. I'll show you later here where I really wish they did. This piece is what I want. The one with an open end. Set there. And one here. And then we want the three-way piece. It's got one closed end, but it really isn't going to matter much. I'd prefer it for aesthetic looks if it didn't have that closed piece, but it will do. And then we go back to the fully open ones. And clip, darn you. Why aren't you clipping? There we go. And one more, and I want a capped end on that one. Okay, and then I'll put the peak walls on this one. I've built this a few times in practice, and one of the things I learned, I had a big trouble with getting the roofs to clip. Gotta make sure the red's out. As you can see, it'll clip where the red is inside on these, and then your roof will not attach. Okay, so this here is where I really wish there was an inside corner. As you can see, I'm gonna have to come up with something to fix that, but I'll get to that in just a second, because that's something that kind of sort of works. And then when you clip it into the building, it functions. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. And on the wall section, they have these pieces here on the end. Those will fill this gap. Now this gap I can fill. Problem is, like I said, it's not perfect. You can use these pieces here, and it will fill that from the outside. The problem with that for these Sanctuary builds is these little corner pieces will hang down, and they're not necessarily in a wall, so they're not necessarily lined up with anything on the inside, so I usually leave them out. Now I'm also going to do something interesting here. I'm going to wire this house internally for power so that I don't have to have wires hanging all around Sanctuary. So we take one of these floor sections and then we'll clip inside the top pieces. And I like to just have a nice center line where I can line everything up. And I will hang my conduit from those. I will use these downward ones. And if you use the upward ones, you could do, it would work. It just wouldn't be ideal because they kind of, sort of, your wires would drape down through your roof, and then you got draping wires problems again. So, I'm going to wire all these up. I'll get the final wire here in a second. And then, I could clip this in like it is, and then, but having the generator would be a pain. And frankly, looking from the inside, it would look okay, but you wouldn't get a nice raftered look to it. So we're gonna go back to our structures and our barn and our roofs, and they have this flat piece here, which has some nice non-clipping issues. Has some nice rafter look to it. So we're gonna use these. And you kind of have to go down the center with this weird roof shape with these, because if you do not, the roof will try and clip to the outside, which is fine if you're trying to build a porch or whatever, but trying to get them to clip in this center piece here without having that center row in is almost impossible. We get stairs so I can park my generator. I'm going to use just a little generator. The only issue with doing this is you can't really make use of the power for other things other than lighting. And then there's the noise issue that some people have, but this was going to be out over the carport, and it's not really going to bother me much. Back to the barns. Roofs, this piece. Line up. That's what I mean about snapping to the outside. It just really wants to go out there. And it's much harder if you don't have that center row built in. So see, with this in place, you'll never see that gap from the inside of the buildings. From the outside, the roof that's already there will kind of cover up a lot of our sins. Okay, and then we use the ever favorite rug glitch to stick all of this in the building. Now, some people are going to be tempted to stick it here in the wall. The problem with that is nothing really lines up that way. I use it to make sure everything's straight, but to make sure the peaks and stuff line up, you kind of want it in just a little bit. And that will help make everything line up well. And just to double check that, we will take a peek at the peak. First off, that one doesn't quite line up. Let's move her a little in. When you see it jump like that, I figure out what causes it. What you can do, if you want it to stop jumping when you grab one like that, you go back to the floor covering, select your mat, and then get out, and then you can select the mat again, and it will stop jumping. Okay, so this peak lines up well. That peak lines up well, and it's a little high, and I'll show you how to fix that in a second.
Diamond City Radio.
So, if we don't like it that high, you can leave it like it is, but you kind of have a high roof here. It's fixable though, because you just go right back to the barn section and to the miscellaneous and get this long post, stick her next to the wall as close as you can get. Okay, then you select the wall, the post and everything. Hold down the left one and the X and just bump her down a tiny bit. Let's see how that looks. See, that's a much closer roof there. And from the outside, it's a lot closer, but it still protects the roof from the outside. I like this because you can have a little clipping through. These roofs aren't perfect. And this is the inside area where I wish I had an inside corner instead of just an outside corner for these angled roofs. But as you can see, it's not bad. And I kind of actually like how these little gables clip through. So, it's, you know, restored. And then the neat thing about this, now that I've got the roof restored, and more restored than just sliding a shack roof into the roof, I've got that hidden power, so I can come here to my lights and I can select a light fixture, whichever one I want. Store those now that I got the roof where I want it, and then you can put your lights however you want. The whole house is lit. House is powered. The entire house is powered. And I did not have to drape wires from an exterior source or have pylons or anything hanging out. Everything's hidden. You do get the engine noise and a little bit of the exhaust whatnot here in the carport, but it really doesn't affect the settlers, and it doesn't bother me much either. And from there, you can do the standard everybody showed you. Clip the walls in, clip your doors in, have your decorating the house. I do wish Bethesda would give us the ability to scrap these. It's amazing that I can tear down an entire ruined building, but I can't rake up leaves. And as you can see, the roof looks a whole lot better from the outside. It's not perfect. Like I said, these sanctuary houses are not built on the same scale as the modular stuff they let us play with. It's a little bit wider and a little bit longer. But it looks close enough, and it definitely from the outside looks a whole lot more repaired than they do if you were to just slide a flat shack roof in. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.